Because you've had a hell of a run with injuries. Will you explain to the viewers what your problem is?
Right. I injured a disc, a cervical disc in my spine against Eastern Suburbs. It's a completely new injury to what I've had before. I was feeling $1 million after a week's in hospital and a week's rest out of hospital, and I probably rushed myself back, and it's probably a fault, knowing a bit too much about it, not listening to specialist advice. I trained about 9 days before I should have, basically because I wanted to try and get back and regain my representative spot. And I virtually went backwards, and I'm back where I started from 4 weeks ago.
Very unfairly, I think it's been suggested that you as Australian captain should signify your intentions for 1982. Nobody else is being asked to tell anyone what they're doing in 1982, but people are saying to some areas of the media. How have you reacted to that?
Well, when I initially saw it, you know, I was a bit astounded. At that stage and at this stage, my main concern is to try and get back for this season. At that stage, I was still hoping to get back for the representative games for this year and play for Australia, and you know, that was enough on my mind without having to worry about answering or feeling obligated to those people that were asking. You know, I don't think I should answer to the coach of Eastern Suburbs what my intentions are for 1982. If an Australian selector or the president of the Australian Rugby League had have asked me, then I would have given him an honest answer. Obviously, with the disappointment of missing out on the coming series, or the possibility of missing out on the coming series against the Frenchmen, I've had a lot of time to sit down and think about what I want to do, and I've decided to, all going well, to make myself available for the 1982 representative games.
George, there'll be a lot of water flows under the bridge between the end of the season 1981, let alone 1982.
Certainly, you know, that's why I think it's so absurd that, you know, I should have to answer anything like that. As you say, you know, I mean, a bloke, touch wood, could go out and break a leg first game next year, you know.
Yeah,
I mean...
But George, your neck problem, or your disc problem, is it going to be a recurring one?
Well, that's obviously what's been on my mind in the last 10 days, and it's been pretty nerve-wracking, but I've been assured that all going well, and, you know, I'm out for 4 weeks. I've been told that there's no definite time period that can be put on it. It might be 3 weeks, it might be 6 weeks, but at the end of that time, then it shouldn't recur.
So you're looking probably now another 4 to 6 weeks out?
Well, I'm looking at, you know, as I'm seeing the specialist weekly, I'll be assessed weekly, and sort of, you know, a weekly assessment made and decisions made as I go along.
Sure, this isn't the first time that this has happened. Like the mere fact that there's something wrong with your spine or something like that is a completely different story. If you do a cartilage or something, it's the same old story, isn't it?
Sure, it's not like a break where you can say you've been plastered for 6 weeks and then a week later you can play. Sure. It's something you can't judge and put a definite time period on.
Well, there's also, you can't work on it either. That's probably the frustrating part.
Well, I'm doing, you know, I'm sort of tending physio daily, and I'll be going out to a gym once I've been given the all clear and start working out there. But, you know, at this stage, and it's only been the last couple of days that I've been pain-free. So, I haven't been able to sleep, let alone get on a training paddock.
It must be very frustrating for you, though, sitting on the touchlines and watching Canterbury. There's been criticism of Canterbury this year too, George, and saying that, well, St George won the competition in '77, they had a poor year in '78. Is it going to be a Canterbury year like that as St George?
Well, I certainly hope not. The Wednesday night game, the guys went a lot better, and I hope that's some sort of indication as to, you know, what's going to happen.
And so there's still great enthusiasm in the club.
Sure.
I think you've had your share of injuries outside of yourself too in the club.
We've had a share of injuries. I think myself, Greg Brantnell and Chris Anderson haven't played for the last 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, Gary Hughes at the beginning of the season.
3 internationals out of the side.
Well, the same token, George, I think Canterbury are probably paying the price for winning the comp anyway, because each side certainly comes out and really want to get on top of the premiers.
They want to beat the premiers, yeah.
Sure, but, you know, we've got to overcome that if we want to go somewhere.
That's a fact of rugby league life.
But Canterbury have had the benefit of a lot of ball over the years by virtue of the fact that you're in there, and they've built their game around it, and it's a big, as allied with what Noel says, that the other side's trying a little bit harder against the premiers. And having to do without the ball for long periods of time is taking its toll.
Yeah, but I was talking about the game here last week, George. You got in front against Penrith 20-15, and you lost that game, which is not like Canterbury in the past year of 1980, was it?
Sure, I was out at that game, and, you know, as much as I hate to admit it, Penrith were the better side on the day, and except for maybe 5 or 10 minutes of that game, Penrith looked dangerous most of the game.
All right, well, thanks, George, for that. You're a member of the panel now, okay? We've cleared the air, I think, as far as the Peponis story. I think it's ludicrous to expect him to declare his intentions with nobody else is.
You're available.
He's available if selected. Right,
exactly.
that's it. I'm available if selected too.
Well, you know.
Don't hold your breath.
No, well, all right, I won't wait because a refusal often offends. Let's go to that game last week that we televised insofar as the other game that we have. It's usually a one-way conversation.
That's right.
Yeah.
George, I don't want to draw you anything, but the way referees are refereeing scrums at the moment, you know, with some referees, whoever puts the ball in invariably get it back. There's no risk about that. But with other referees, particularly John Gager, I'd say, that the scrum normally winds up in a penalty. Do you find a difference between the referees and the feedings of the scrum? Or is it just me?
No, it varies from game to game. It really does. But I think more so this year, the side that feeds gets it, and probably because there's no pressure on the halfback in his own 20 or own half.
Because the differential penalty.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it's a bad rule, but I'm saying it's taken a lot of pressure off the halfback, and you know, he'll cheat a lot more.
Well, I think
Cheat, George? Cheat?
Well, halfbacks are the cheats, not the hookers.
Right.
that's very true.
This try made by Graham, scored by Burns, showed a couple of things. It showed that Graham's a very good footballer. We all knew that. It showed also that young Burns is one of the finds of the season for North Sydney.
Well, not only Burns.
It also showed that Russell Gardner's not as quick as he used to be.
You're right.
Eh?
Spot on, yeah.
What about Phil Ritchie? Yeah, here's a fella come up from nowhere into the first grade side. He's virtually broken even with Mac Krilich, who always gets his share of the ball, and he's confirmed yesterday by his scrummaging yesterday that he's a top prospect.
One of the incredible things about this particular game was the Manly didn't put North Sydney under any pressure when bombs went up, and yet North Sydney put Manly under enormous pressure when they put bombs up.
North Sydney are playing good footy, Rex.
I've got something I want to show you that was given to me by a friend of mine. I say he was a friend of mine. I'm going to cut him off my list. Have we got that little key ring? There it is. Have a look at this. A tiny wee little bear. Now, Bill Kerr, my mate, I had dinner with him the other night, has been a North Sydney supporter since 1922. Bill's of Greek origin and looks it. Like you, George, he's from the Greek islands and so forth. And he's been a North Sydney fan for so long, and every time they beat Manly, he rubs it right into me, and he says, gave me that little key ring with a Kali Koala. And I think, thank you very much, Bill. Very nice of you. On with the business of looking at different highlights out of that game. The Alan Burns try we've looked at. No, this is the Graham try. I suggested to him that he might have played for Tottenham Hotspur, the way he dribbled the ball through the mud and kicked it very, very nicely there to get the right bounce and so forth.
There wasn't too many making much ground on him then.
No, you're right. He's pretty quick.
He got the drop.
The next one we've got coming up for you is the bomb. And this was another near thing for the Manly side. The referee was adamant that it wasn't a try. He was in on the spot. Not easy situations for referees, those. And here's the Smith bombing the try, the one we've already spoken about. We're not trying to rub it into him, but it was there. He was actually over the line when he got the ball from Graham. Now, he dives and dropped it. So it can be done.
Oh my God!
The appalling try scored by Harris. When I say appalling, I'm not criticising North Sydney or the scoring of the try. I'm criticising Manly's effort at stopping the try. And there's the bouncing ball. Adam unloads and Harris is in for the try. He was one of their very good players yesterday for North Sydney too.
I think you got to comment on Paul McCaffrey's accuracy with the bomb. Every time he puts that ball up, it's in a perfect
on the spot, isn't it? Yeah.
Right, let's have a look at the next item. And this is the Smith try. Now that was, you know, an international footballer trying to take that one, and it looked awful. That looked awful. And that's the place to score them, George. You like to go underneath the post when you can, don't you?
If you notice, he was all on his own, John Diary, then too, though. Usually if there's a bomb up, your wingers will come and help you and cover and, you know, for the drop ball or something, and he's all on his own.
Well, I said to Ray Ritchie after the game, and I hasten to add, Ray's under enormous pressure, as any losing coach is. Ask Len Stacker, ask Bill Anderson, ask people that have been through the hoop, and Harry Bath this season. What